they come.
Welcome back to another episode of Here They Come. I'm Kate Lockhart.
And I'm Paul Ramlow.
We've got some exciting racing action coming up tonight, Paul. Enough Talk and Lucky Jim are going to face off in the Sumac Lad Series at the Meadowlands. Enough Talk made his 2010 debut last week in an impressive effort at the Meadowlands after an 8-month layoff. I know Ken Weingartner caught up with Peter Kleinhans, and he said it was really a challenge to get the horse back to the track. And for him, that race last week was one of his favorite accomplishments in his racing career.
Yeah, absolutely. A super 152-2 effort by Enough Talk in his return to the races. This sets up, like you said, a great matchup. Lucky Jim, last year's Older Trotting Horse of the Year, against Enough Talk, who was the Older Trotting Horse of the Year 2 years ago. This will be the first of hopefully many encounters by these two top horses. And not to overlook the fact that Arch Madness and Tron Smedshammer are also in this Sumac Lad leg on Friday. We get a lot of people that lament about the fact that we don't keep a lot of the older horses on the racetrack, but in the horse trotting category this year, we have 3 superb animals. We also have Vivid Photo out there racing in open trots, who was the Dan Patch Award winner 3 years ago. So it's great to see these older trotters continuing to race on the track, and here's hoping for an exciting summer. In other news from the state of New Jersey, horsemen and others concerned about the state of racing in the Garden State met at the Meadowlands last week to get an update on a concerted grassroots effort, which is hoping to convince lawmakers to install video lottery terminals at the state's racetracks.
Yeah, the man behind this effort is Mike Galata, who has a lot invested in New Jersey, is really interested in seeing racing thrive in the state. And he's created a 3-phase plan for the grassroots campaign. The first phase involves writing letters to the editor. The second phase involves making calls into a radio show called Ask the Governor, which is on station 101.5 in New Jersey. And then the third portion of the grassroots effort is going to be a rally in Trenton. They haven't yet decided on a date, but it seems like they're really trying to rally the horsemen in that state to make whatever difference they can in trying to get VLTs at the racetracks there.
Yeah, certainly a grassroots campaign is the best way to get the word out. A unified front by the horsemen is certainly important. Let's hope the lawmakers in New Jersey realize just how important horse racing is in that state.
In this week's interview, Nicole Kraft caught up with renowned equine surgeon Patti Hogan.
Well, Patty Hogan, it must be a beautiful day there at Fairwinds Farm where your clinic is. What are you up to today?
Well, actually, can I tell you I was just showing off Must-See's new colt by some beach somewhere. I was just outside with a client loading their horse, and this colt was running around, and just showed him off right there. So it's a beautiful day, yes. It's really nice surroundings, and we just finished our morning surgeries, and we're going to have lunch.
Well, you are certainly in harness racing and arguably in the world one of the most accomplished and well-known equine surgeons. How do you get to be that person?
I actually was very fortunate to meet some great people along the way. I think that's key, is having mentors that care about what you're interested in and are willing to teach you. And so I was so lucky in that regard. You know, every day I'm grateful that I get to do this for a living.
And how grateful are you for having met Smarty Jones?
Oh, that horse really changed my life, that's for sure. The story itself was just so endearing, the way it all played out, and to meet him before he was even famous was, you know, just part of the charm of the story. But he truly was a special horse. We knew it when we met him, you know, that he just was a unique individual with a lot of personality, and then to be part of his success was a dream come true. It's something I'll never forget, and, you know, it was really like a fairy tale.
Keystone Wallace, can you tell us what the situation was with him?
Keystone Wallace just was something that tugged at my heartstrings for some reason or another, and she's a older mare, 23 years old, that, you know, had been really a wonderful racehorse and had raced during Jug Week when she was a 3-year-old and caught the eye of a 6-year-old girl at that time named Kate Miller. And fast forward, you know, till the mare's 23 years old, and she's just had her last foal. I think she had 14 foals. And she was consigned to the Blooded Horse Sale in Delaware, Ohio. And, you know, Kate's in her early 20s, and she had a pretty good idea that there wasn't much of a future for a mare like that going to a mixed sale of that caliber. So she actually scraped up the money and traveled out there to the sale just to buy that horse, because she remembered her as a young girl. mostly because the mare was one of the few white or gray horses there were, and she was such a good racehorse. So Kate bought her for $150.
Wow.
And, the underbidder was the slaughter buyer, kill buyer, so that was Kate's objective.
What encouragement can you give other people so that maybe they could be more active?
If you have any investment whatsoever in this sport, then you must invest yourself in whatever people are doing to improve welfare, because it's definitely going to be an important spoke in the wheel for our survival.
Right. We have Dan Kearns who's asking about new procedures that maybe you developed that you see being used by other veterinary surgeons to get horses back to the races.
We used to just take an injury, do whatever was required to fix it, and then the horses would stand in a stall for a long time. And I think we've realized this both in human medicine and veterinary medicine, that physical therapy is incredibly important. So I will do a surgery now, and my number one goal is to get that horse back into some kind of movement as soon as possible. Without a doubt, the other major advance has been in fracture repair. We've come so far with that, and I certainly didn't invent everything. I'm just doing lots of them.
Patti Hogan, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk with you, and can't thank you enough, and give our best to Eddie.
Well, thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it.
That was great. Thanks, Dr. Hogan. Paul, there was some other news about slots at the racetracks here in Ohio. LetOhioVote.org, which is the group that successfully challenged Governor Strickland's order to have slots put at the racetracks, has gathered enough valid signatures to put the issue before the voters this fall.
Yeah, the one thing that is kind of scary, though, is they haven't come up with the exact wording for what's going to go onto the ballot. But apparently many feel that the wording will be less generous to the racing industry than what Governor Strickland's VLT order had been. Now it's time for this week's episode of the Hollywood Minute with Bob Hollywood Heyden and Nicole Kraft, brought to you by Hoofbeats Magazine, reporting with horsepower.
Holly, it was a great week of racing at the Meadowlands last week, and the thing that really struck me was the quantity and quality of the tight finishes that we saw.
In all four races, our three finals and the $10 million World Cup, a nose separated the top two finishers, Gloria de Campeo in the World Cup, and Liz again won the four-leaf clover, Laugh and Be Happy, the Night Styles, and Celebrity Playboy won the horse and groom. It was just great racing, horses across the track. In some cases, there were 4 or 5 horses within the neck. So I decided to check with some of the principals in racing to find out who they thought was the greatest, most notable nose they could think of. And Bill O'Donnell told me the 1987 North America Cup with Jate Lobel held off Frugal Gourmet. I checked with Lou Guide and Bob Bonney. They both came up with the same one, Mackenzie Almahurst. Back in 1981, the Wilson, in a 10-minute photo over Lon Todd Hanover. That just happened to be the only $1 million driving win for Billy Houghton, Mackenzie Almahurst, and 2 of the 5 richest harness races ever were both decided by a nose. That was one of them. The other was Carlsbad back in '83 over True Tone Lobel, also in the Wilson. McCardle won the 2003 Houghton by an eyelash over his former stablemate, Art Major, and he did it from post 10. And that turned out to be Art Major's only loss of the year in any of the big events. And who can forget last year in the Hambletonian Oaks when nobody knew who won the race, Raising Rachel or Broadway Schooner? It took the camera a few minutes to come up with Broadway Schooner, who went on to win the Breeders' Crown and was voted 3-year-old Trot and Filly of the Year. And because of that nose, Brian Sears was able to set the all-time earnings record. So here's hoping for many, many more close finishes in 2010. Hope we can keep it up.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go from things that are close up to things that are pretty far away from us. And Bob Lewis is convinced this is the time he will stump you. So let's see if he's successful. His question is, where is the most westerly track in North America?
I'm going to guess Edmonton track in Canada.
Country was correct, but the track and province were wrong. It's actually Sandown Park in British Columbia, which is on Vancouver Island. So congratulations to Bob Lewis, who finally does stump Bob Heyden.
He deserves to win with that question. That's
Absolutely.
a good one.
All right, Bob, we look forward to talking with you next week.
Great. Talk to you then.
Thanks, Bob and Nikki. Paul, at the recent USTA directors meetings, Executive Vice President Mike Tanner introduced an idea he was calling a National Day at the Races. It's kind of an interesting concept. He wants the entire industry to pull together with the support of the USTA and create an event for everyone to come out to the track to see the races.
Yeah, I think harness racing is definitely an event-driven industry. days like the Hambletonian Day, Little Brown Jug Day, that's when the people get really juiced up by the sport of harness racing and come out to their racetracks. I know what Mike wants to do is have one big day this summer where all the racetracks participate together and get a large group of fans out there and show the best that we have to offer.
And we'd be curious to hear what it would take to get you back to the track. If you go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/USTrotting, you'll see we've got a question there. What would it take to get you back to the track? Feel free to post your comments for us to see.
And that wraps up this week's episode of Here They Come. I'd like to thank Patty Hogan, Bob Hollywood Heyden, Nicole Kraft, and our world-class engineer, Rich Johnston. I'm Paul Ramlow.
And I'm Kate Lockhart.
Please join us again next week for another exciting episode of Here They Come.